Everybody. So here we have this HP laptop in, and the reason why it's here is it was my neighbor's computer and he doesn't really want it anymore. So we're going to be repurposing this machine. So it's an HP system. I'm not sure what the model is just yet. Let me look that up. Go here to settings. We should be able to see it. It's an AMD A8 4500M. Has 8 gigs of memory. Windows 10 Home 21H1. So it's not even the latest Windows 10 that's on this thing. But it's a HP. Doesn't think really says in here, but it's a HP Pavilion of some kind. One thing I'm noticing is this kind of like artifacting I'm seeing on the screen. I'm not sure if that is an issue with the screen itself, or if that is perhaps, I don't know, in this laptop. That remains to be seen. But my plans for this laptop are for it to go to a close friend, so definitely so I can do with it there. I'm not as worried about it in that case as I would be if I was going to sell this computer. But anyways, what we're going to be doing with this one is we're going to swap out that hard drive for an SSD. That's kind of, I guess that's part of the reason why I gave it up, was because it's slow. Hard drive makes this thing super slow. It's got a 1 terabyte hard drive in it though. Plenty of space, but slow. So we're going to be swapping out for a solid state drive. I'll be pulling that hard drive, installing the SSD, and off camera I'll be wiping the old hard drive, and on video we'll be doing a clean installation of Windows 11 24H2. Now of course this machine, of course, does not meet the Microsoft Elite Class System requirements Windows 11, but y'all probably know at this point what I'm going to be doing. I'll be bypassing those requirements. Screw those requirements. I think they're ridiculous. Of course, there's several methods you can do. You can do that with. One that I commonly use is Rufus. So I have a USB drive that's already set up with Rufus. Matter of fact, it's a 24H2 installer with a 23H2 pre-installation wrapper, more or less. And I have a video covering that. But anyways, let's go and get started with this thing. Okay, everybody, let's go ahead and start removing the hard drive. That way we can swap it out for the solid state drive. So we're going to flip this thing over. And look at there, we have a removable battery. Why can't laptops all have these anymore? These newer laptops, they had the battery internal, and oftentimes it's a LiPo pack. Yeah, not a fan of that. Anyways, looks like this one, we just take this screw right here. And the door literally slides down and off. And you have access to the memory and the hard drive and the Wi-Fi card. So while I'm in here, we have a single 8 gigabyte module for RAM. That's right, we did have 8 gigs of RAM in this. It's been a few days since I worked on it. I was thinking I might swap that for 2 of my 4 gig modules. That way we'll keep it 8 gigs of RAM, but possibly able to run it dual channel. And also, let's go ahead and pull this hard drive out. We'll focus on this hard drive first. So there will be no data backup with this. Literally, we're just wiping this drive. So that's it. Wiping a drive. Installing the SSD, which I'll be wiping this drive off camera. Install the SSD, and we will do a clean installation of Windows 11 on this thing. Yeah, I'm not really a fan of this design of HP. At least for, oh, that's actually for the CD drive or DVD drive. This is for the hard drive. I'm not a fan of this right here. So I meant to say earlier, I'm not a fan of having this rubber. I get why they had the rubber there, but it makes these hard drives a little bit more of a pain to remove than they should be, and you risk damaging the drive. Got a Toshiba hard drive. Toshiba actually makes decent hard drives. It's a 1 terabyte. That's a good size 2.5 inch hard drive. But of course a solid state drive would be a lot faster. So just disconnect that, and let's go ahead and remove this rubber cage from this drive. Okay, this pops off like that. Oh, that's great. Wonderful design, HP. Had the screw just fall right out like that. Anyways, gonna grab a solid state drive. Have a whole bunch of these. It's funny, when you order stuff on Amazon, a lot of times you'll order something and it'll say for X amount of money more, you can get free overnight shipping or whatever. Of course, $25 is that minimum order amount, minimum purchase amount. So a lot of times what I'll do is, since these SSDs are eligible purchases for that, I'll just toss one in the cart to get the total up to $25 and make the purchase. Therefore, I always have a few of these on hand, because I always find myself needing them when computers come in for service. Because of course I work on a lot of older stuff that does not have M.2 slots, and these are the next best thing. Okay, let's go ahead and reinstall the screws in our little cage here. Okay, so go ahead and stick this back in there. First, we're going to plug our cable back in. Cram it down in there. Again, I'm not... Okay, so apparently with this one, there are little slots that the rubber pieces go into. However, I'm still not really the biggest fan of that design. I get why they do it. The rubber helps cushion the hard drive, although only a little bit. With the solid state drive, it's not quite as big of a deal. If you're not careful when you're trying to pull the drive out, the hard drive, you can damage it. The same goes for a solid state drive as well. Alright, plug this connector back in. Apparently this one I gotta get it lined up just right. Okay, so upon further inspection, this laptop uses PC3L memory, which is DDR3L memory. It's different than regular DDR3. Therefore, this laptop is only compatible with the DDR3L style modules, which I don't really have any of those. So we'll have to keep that like it is. So we're going to put this door back on, and we can go ahead and proceed with Windows 11 installation. Let's go ahead and reinstall our battery. That battery is dated 2014, and I'm pretty sure that's the original battery to this laptop, so we know what year this thing was made. Okay, let's go ahead and begin installing Windows 11. Okay, since apparently this laptop is not willing to play nice with my installers, I will just go ahead and turn on legacy support, install Windows 11, and then go back and do an MBR to GPT conversion. Since this thing don't want to play nice. And there we go, it's booting up in legacy mode. So this is my Windows 11 24H2 installer. It's basically a 23H2 installer with the Windows 11 24H2 install.wim file included, because I can't stand the new installer. And of course this installer, which was originally 23H2, was set up using Rufus to bypass the Microsoft Elite Class System requirements, and also to disable the internet connectivity requirement, Microsoft account requirement, among other things. So we're going to select Windows 11 Home. And of course, this is pretty familiar to probably a lot of the viewers on this channel. So as you can see, it's setting up using MBR. So what we'll do is we'll let Windows 11 install, run through an out-of-box experience, get that all done, and then we'll go back into the installer and do an MBR to GPT conversion. Okay, let's go ahead and run through setup here. I'm going to enter the username for this one. See who this is going to. Okay, now that we're in, we're just going to wait for the taskbar to finish loading up, and then we're going to shut this down. I'm actually going to restart back into the installer, and then we'll do the MBR to GPT conversion. Okay, so now we're in the Windows setup utility. We don't need to go through this. What we need to do here is hold Shift and press F10. And that gets us a command prompt window. First, I'm going to run disk part and list disk, so that way we can see what our drives are. And pretty much 9.9 times out of 10, disk 0 will be the drive that we're targeting. In other words, the hard drive or SSD, primary boot drive. So we're going to go ahead and exit. So what we can do now is just run MBR to GPT. Now if you type just this, it will give you a list of switches. So what we're going to do is we're going to put in MBR to GPT space / disk :0 / validate and validation completed successfully. So now we're going to do the conversion. So instead it's going to be disk :0 and then / convert. Now it's very important that if you care about what's on that drive, that you back up your files before you do this. Now, of course, this is a clean install. We don't have hardly anything to lose here. Alright, so we can see that it has successfully completed. So now what I'm going to do is exit this installer We'll go back into the setup utility, and we're going to turn legacy support back off. And what we're also going to do, okay, secure boot is already enabled by default when you disable legacy support. That being said, let's go ahead and exit, saving changes. And we're booting into Windows 11 now in GPT. There definitely is something going on with this screen. Either it's a screen or perhaps it's a screen cable. I don't know if you notice there's a little bit of artifacting over here. You only see it at certain times. Like, it's almost like there are dead pixels on the screen. They only show up at like certain times. Now, for example, if I go into settings here, which I'll probably need to connect to internet and let this thing activate Windows before I can do personalization. So I'm going to do that now. Okay, so we're now connected. And this thing's going to begin installing updates and everything in the background too, and probably some drivers like the display driver and stuff like that. But for example, if we go to personalization, switch to dark, and you'll probably, yep, you can definitely see what I'm talking about there. Hard to say if it's dead pixels or if it is perhaps the connection between the screen and the laptop motherboard. Remains to be seen. I may have to investigate that later off camera. But anyways, we're going to let this thing install updates and all that good stuff, and we'll come back when that's done. Okay everybody, so now I have all the updates and stuff installed, and I've also installed some software. So let's kind of take a look at the specs. Now I should note that we do still have that artifacting sort of issue with the screen, although it's really a minor issue considering this is going to be a free laptop to who it's going to. If it gets worse, then I could replace the screen. But anyways, let's go ahead and look at our system specs here. So we have an AMD A8 4500M APU, 8 gigs of RAM, and it's also showing our graphics memory for the AMD Radeon HD 7640G graphics. Windows 11 Home 24H2. There we are. So we're going to start out by doing a restart, which will basically show the startup performance without fast startup. Okay, so here we are. Not the fastest startup, but definitely not bad for a system of this age. And of course, a lot of those A-series mobile APUs were not exactly speed demons. So we're going to shut down this time. And this time when we start up, it'll do the fast startup. So a little bit faster there. So yeah, I don't think this laptop's going to be getting used all that much. Friend just wanted to have a laptop for occasional use here and there. So I think this will fit the bill. Again, the little artifacts on the screen, I do think it's actually the screen causing it. Maybe perhaps it could be the screen cable. I'm not exactly certain on that, but I'm thinking it's probably the screen or the control board on the screen, which would require replacing the screen, which would cost between $60 to $100+ for this one. And there's a pretty big screen too. So I think we're going to leave it as is for now. If it gets any worse, then we'll have to deal with it at that time. Okay, so it looks like fast startup has disabled our mouse. This is an issue that sometimes pops up with Windows 11. Apparently the keyboard is disabled too. So we're going to have to hard shut this thing down. Start it back up. Okay, updates. Okay. So what I'm going to do is just to be safe, I'm going to turn off fast startup on this one. So this is the second reason why I do these tests. Not just to show performance, but to find issues like this. So since we have OpenShell installed on this machine, we can just go straight to control panel like we used to be able to do in Windows 7. Now if you don't have classic shell or OpenShell or Start 11 or any of those alternate start menus, you just have to go to Explorer and go up to the top of the File Explorer, click the little arrow and go to Control Panel. So on the Control Panel, we go to Power Options. We'll go up here to choose what the power button does. Okay, so now what we need to do is click this button here to change settings that are currently unavailable. Uncheck, turn on fast startup, save changes. Alright, let's go ahead and shut this down. Okay, start it back up. Okay, we're back in and we have a functioning mouse cursor. And you can see our keyboard functions work. So, there we go. So anyways, I think that wraps up for this one. Hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching.